Hey guys, it's Tuesday, January 24th, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 406. It's Newbie Tuesday, all about the late game and expanding and that good jazz. In the first part, we talked a lot about the basic three ideas we want in the late game. Did we bring the right tools to the late game? Are we getting ready for a good late game composition? And are we using unit movement to help us expand? And also thinking all about that. Before we look at the rest of this beautiful mid and late game by Liquid Hero in this game, I wanted to talk about kind of the thought process that happens when you first start playing StarCraft into where you are now, and then to where you want to be in the future. When you first started playing StarCraft, it was so scary to take, or actually just to stay alive on one base, wasn't it? It was so terrifying just to stay alive with one base. Screw expanding. Dark Templar come in? Oh my god, how do you detect in this game, you know? Or an Immortal Rush at your front door. If he just builds Colossus and attacks you, like, that's scary, it freaks you out. But you learn to stand strong, and soon enough you get 2 bases up. It takes you a lot longer, a lot more research, and wow, I finally can take an early expand and be safe always. And what you've probably been seeing in the pro scene in the last 3 to 4 months is suddenly players are just getting 3 bases up almost every game. Cool. Lovely. And I would say that that is probably one of the biggest gaps between one of those casual try-hard players and then someone who's actually like, yeah, I play StarCraft competitively as my primary hobby, is that 2 to 3 base. But what we're talking about here in the ultra late game is 4, 5, 6, 7 bases, where there's no calculation, it's all judgment. But I want to encourage you to think that it is as simple as it ends up being, that it's a lot about just thinking about unit movement, thinking about positioning, and where to move our stuff. In this game, we saw Liquid Hero position his stuff down this right alley, and then he bounced up where I'm dragging my mouse to this rightmost location, taking this expansion. Now, in terms of unit movement and expanding, what I would call them is, when are we expanding, and where should he be expanding? As you might imagine, based upon this analogy that I just said, where I was talking about, ooh, it's so hard to have just one base up, to where you're like, ha, I can get my natural expansion up. You'll notice a subtle psychological thing happened in your brain. The instant you became comfortable early expanding and always being safe, that's when you stopped really worrying about him early expanding. And likewise, when you got 3 bases up, that's when you stopped worrying about him having 3 bases up. In this game, we're at the 20-minute mark. There's no clear winner. But I want you to note that, holy cow, Zerg has 1, 2, 3, 4 bases that we know about up right now. As we go to the hero cam, he has 4 bases up, but we're just not that worried about it. We're not trying to put pressure on. We're not freaking out. Everything is a-okay, totally fine. Now let's talk about his movement and where he's expanding. Where is the most likely place for Zerg to expand to? Here is far and away the most likely place to expand to, followed by up here in this area, or maybe this main right there. Great. Yeah, we're dealing with some Mutalisk harassment, but it's not actually that complicated thought process-wise. It is tough to keep an eye on the mini-map and to keep that awareness up, but thought process-wise, it's not that difficult. Now, what you're noticing, this army hasn't moved for a full minute. What has gone into movement? Boom! Observer down here checking expansions. Bam! DT moving up to the top right. Another DT moving down to the bottom left, checking all the expansions. You want to be both taking expansions and shutting your opponent out of expansions. The instant hero was feeling a little bit worried about this good old stalker. He moved it down. Now, where I'm looking, literally as the commentator of this daily, I'm spending almost all my time looking here. A lot of people think that the mini-map is like your rear view mirror where you look to avoid some sort of crisis or emergency. No, this is where I make all my decisions. I glance down here. Oh, I want to try to help protect this friendly, delightful little stalker of mine. We're not trying to kill our opponent. We're just sort of poking around. And as I'm moving around here, you know, we see some Brood Lords, but I'm going to ask you a question right now. Where is my opponent most likely to expand? And where are we most likely to expand next? Well, we've already checked the top right, nothing there. This observer is about, you can see the fringe of creep right here. Liquid Hero is about to stumble across this one. But most importantly, notice that as Hero's feeling threatened, his army is right between the Zerg's army and his most important and vulnerable expansion. He has a lot of vision control over these two watchtowers. And where's the next place that we're likely to expand? Well, I'll throw two possible places to expand at us. What about this top right area? Let's assume there wasn't creep there. Does that seem good? We'll look at the minimap. Hell no, it seems horrible, right? This place seems pretty good. I like this probably the most. Just because it's farthest away from our opponent who has this slow army. And suddenly you're seeing how his army has an influence on where I expand. If he had like tons of Ling Muta, I would be hesitant to expand here right now because my army is down south. In fact, this would likely be my next most common place to expand. This seems safest given the positioning of all these units that are moving across, literally making a wall. However, there's nothing wrong with looking at this minimap and saying, I don't think anywhere to expand is that safe. So don't expand! Yes! Awesome! Cool! We now see OGS Hero, aka Liquid Hero, moving down to take out this expansion, because we always want to be taking an expand, or trying to take down an expand. And Hero does a very sophisticated move, which is to break off a chunk of his army to take out this expansion, and continue to redistribute his units to deal with the opponent. And boom, suddenly our Zerg buddy realizes, oh crap, Protoss has 4 bases up. So there's units down here. So I'm going to show you a little tiny teensy juke that just occurred. Where is that one prober that was here a few seconds ago? Let me actually speed it up just a moment. Where did he go? There's the Dark Templar moving out. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little teensy-tiny juke that's very easy to overlook. Liquid Hero actually really would love to take this expansion. He would love to take this expansion, which is similar to you in your next game when you hit the late game, and you really want to take this expansion, whatever map it is, whatever matchup it is. Watch Hero's army now that I've made this statement. Hero's going to pull back a little bit. Obviously, he's going to try to demolish these roaches like it ain't no thing, but watch this army. Pulls back. What's it pulling back for? It's not here to defend against anything. I mean, there was like a Ling there. Okay, cool. Now watch. As he moves up this way, 2 things happen in unison. 1, I'm going to build a Dark Templar to help me clear out this expansion. 2, I'm going to use this army and I'm going to move up and to the right, probably to position over here, thereby protecting the expansion that's up here. Because the most basic way to expand with our unit movement is to shove our army in between our Expo and him. However, Hero sees, oh, tons of units down here, and that makes it much more comfortable to attack. I'm going to tell you one of the more counterintuitive things that you'll ever hear about mid and late game play. A lot of units are at this expansion, so I am more comfortable attacking it. If there were no units at that expansion, I would be slightly less comfortable attacking it. Doesn't make any sense when you say it out loud, right? It's so easy to say, well, there's shit here to kill me. Why would I should be avoiding that. I should be maybe trying to attack this place over here. Or, you know, if there's nothing there at all, that's wonderful. I want to go up and I want to try to kill it off. But the fact of the matter is, where your army is positioned is so critical. We're going to see Hero move a little bit out of position. His army isn't going to be nearby the opponent's units. We want to keep our units kind of always within reach of his units, unless we are way faster. Counterattacking is really critical, but you know what? Just big-ass direct attack at your fronts, literally abandoning this whole base entirely, is one of the scariest things that can happen in the late game. So Hero's more comfortable moving forward here because he's essentially saying, alright, cool. If I move here, maybe I can't kill this army, but at the very least, I can lock it down. I can contain it, I can get it to a space where I'm sort of gently shoving it back. And with those two pairs of movements, hey, we take another expand! Except there's burrowed Zerglings, and that kind of sucks. That delays us a pretty good bit. So, right now we've seen a lot about expanding and our unit positioning for our own expansions. We've seen a lot about our unit positioning regarding his expansions. We've never tried to do this. OGS Hero has not made a single attack on this once. He is aggressively threatening this southern base again and again and again and again and again because he's trying to manage his opponent's expansions. You'll note still a Dark Templar is patrolling between these two bases, even though it's kind of inconvenient for Zerg. A Probe and a DT was actually patrolling here, even though it was mega inconvenient for Zerg to expand there, because you just want to be able to keep track of those. But here what we're going to see OGS Hero do is he's going to take the next best choice of expansion, which is down on this bottom right. Why? Because he has a whole frickin' army there. This place didn't work to expand, and we already sort of cleared that out just 10 seconds ago by this little movement in the center. Notice this set of units here helps protect this base. And that's exactly what this probe tries to do. So we're gently pulling it back to the left because we have a base here we want to protect. And this is such a cool moment to see. So here he builds a pylon. Here he builds a nexus. Come on, build a nexus. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, build a nexus, dude. Build the freaking nexus. Oh, wait, maybe he tried to do it a second ago. Did I miss it? Oh, I see. You can't. There's actually a nexus command issued here, but the way that you rewind replays, you can't see it. So, cool. He tries to build the nexus here, and then here's the boink, doesn't build the nexus. You heard the jing, wow, that sort of thing. Because, again, there's burrowed links right there. And then look at this. OGS Hero suddenly takes his army and moves south and expands behind that. Expanding behind. Cool. This is another very comfortable thing to do because we have vision up here and up here. Let's suppose for a moment that OGS Hero is Terran, and this army is moving down to Zerg's third. And let's suppose he doesn't have this base, and he doesn't have this base. If the Terran player moves down here, he should plant a scan right here on the minimap, just to double check, and a scan right there on the minimap, just to double check. In fact, probably even back here if Hero was a Terran player. He should be scanning here. And if he sees a whole bunch of units counterattacking, what does he do? Pull almost everything back to defend, and then send a small force in to attack. Cool! Yeah! Expanding, fun, goody goodness. Nice. Excellent. So up to this point in time, what I've almost exclusively talked about is where we attack based upon where he's expanding, where we move our army defensively based upon where we want to expand, and we see some pretty basic stuff happening, even though Hero looks like he is so on top of his game. He's looking really good. This is a surprisingly comfortable position for Hero to be in because the army is here, and it is very easy for Hero to defend with this army, protecting expansion 1, 2, and even the main to a certain extent, just by virtue of knowing that this whole army is right here. This little small thing can feel a little bit scary and a little bit threatening. So for the remainder of part 2, what I want to do is I want to talk about late game compositions. And of course, we still have to keep in mind about movement and expanding. Movement and expanding so critical. First, let's talk about late game compositions. There are a lot of compositions in the late game that suck. For instance, 2 Marines, way worse than 1 Ghost. Way worse than 1 Ghost when we're talking about a Zerg player. So unbelievably worse than a Ghost. But Ghosts are stupidly expensive. 2 Marines, $100. 1 Ghost, 200, 100. Big difference in the price. So what that means is, as you approach the late game, you want to start peeling away these less useful units in the maxed circumstance and replace it with these really juicy, delightful units. So for instance, you might be making a lot of Zealots, like Zealot Archon is something I've talked about, very lean and mean mix, expensive on food, cheap on minerals and gas. If you have 40 Zealots in the late game, that's not nearly going to be as good as, say, 5 Immortals and 5 Archons. That takes up the same amount of food. Is that right? No, Immortals are 4, and Zealots are 2. So that would be 10 Immortals and 10 Archons versus 4 Ghosts. Did I say that right? Pretty sure I said that right. Yeah. Oh, God. I went running again this morning, so my brain is relaxed and delighted. Okay. 40 Zealots is 80 food. 20 Immortals is 80 food. Cool, yeah. 40 Zealots versus 10 Archons and 10 Immortals. I think it's pretty clear which one's better. So it's important that you know what sort of late game mix you want. The weird thing that you'll note is, as we step into this game, we're at 24 minutes and 6 seconds. I'm going to come back to 15 minutes. For a full 10 minutes, we were building Stalkers, Archons, Templar, Sentries. Coming to 8 minutes. I'm actually just going to look at the unit counting station. It's all Stalkers and Archons and Sentries. Coming to the 21-minute mark. Look at this mix. 2 DTs, cool. 41 Stalkers. Damn, that's a lot. Archons, Sentries. 24 minutes. What do we have? Stalkers, High Templar, Archon. Cool. As we come to 27 minutes. Whoa! Finally, we have a slight difference in that we're getting Void Rays. This is something that I call the extended mid-game that is very much so prevalent in the current StarCraft 2 play, where if you envision in, like, Zerg vs. Terran, Ling, Baneling, Muta, for a while, actually. You just keep making Lings, Banelings, and Mutalisks for a long time. Okay, Terran vs. Zerg. Marine Tank... Yeah, Marine Tank Medevac, and that's pretty much what you do for a long time. Terran vs. Protoss, Marine Marauder Medevac, maybe throw in some Vikings, that's what you do for a long time. There's these extended periods where you're not doing different units, you're doing the same units, but it's all about that movement around. And now it's time to step into the late game. Now it's time to step into a late game composition. And that's one thing that I would be very aware of is, are you doing something intuitive like, hey, cool, I'm going to be making a whole bunch of Stargates to get Void Rays. I'm going to be suddenly upgrading. +1 air weapons. Gee, why are we moving our army up this way? I don't know, maybe it's because we want to take an expansion here. Still burrowed links. But still, the unit movement completely and totally in line with our taking of expansions. Notice how vulnerable this expansion just looks on the minimap because there's no army getting in the way of things. Again, part of the reason why it's so comfortable to know exactly where your opponent's army is and to get close to it. Not right up to it, but to get pretty gosh darn close to it. And as we can see, one of the bigger moments in the entire game happens right when Hero decides to advance forward and do a little bit of damage in action. Oh yeah, notice how he just moves all the way to the right, and then he's moving down left. Why? To attack this expansion. There's another expansion up here that's becoming a little bit concerning. Cool, managing the expansions, just sending some stuff over. And look at what happens at this moment when we see that our Zerg buddy is left completely available to move out. It's very easy to do this. You have to have control over that vision center of the map, or at the very least, have control over enough vision to know what's up with your opponent. And right as you're getting a lot of expansions up, and you're getting ready to do this late game transition, actually, I should say that much of the mid game is about using your current army to get more bases and not doing much different with it. But generally, there is a trigger for you to go into your crazy late game tech. For instance, the Zerg just kind of wants to get Brood Lords. The Terran will begin getting Ghosts the instant he sees Brood Lords, will begin getting Vikings the instant he sees Brood Lords. The Protoss player, once he sees a lot of Brood Lords, he's going to get Void Rays. In Terran versus Protoss, when the Protoss is getting close to like maxed and sees Ghosts, he's going to begin getting Colossi, but you don't really need them if you're going Templar at that point in time. So there's this kind of trigger that happens. But Hero moves in for this attack. Cool. He's moved around. He's killed off this expansion. He's taken out this one. Also notice how this attack helps protect this expansion up north. And this expansion down here is looking quite vulnerable with the perhaps dumbest placement of cannons known to man. What are these cannons defending? Any units that climb up over the walls? This isn't the Diablo 2 beta. You're not in the catacombs trying to kill off Lockdown, I bet, Hero. So, of course, this big, scary push happens, and we're feeling a little bit concerned, but we're replacing these cheaper, faster, leaner units like the Zealot with these more meaty, expensive units like the Void Ray. Because when really do you get the chance to build 20 Void Rays? You get to do it in the late game, damn it! So, right now what we're seeing is a series of crazy decisions. A counterattack, a retreat with a mothership. This is pretty dang nuts. And I don't want you to worry too much about asking yourself, how do I do this? Right now, all I want you to ask is the whole expanding and unit movement thing, and then am I set up right for the late game? Am I doing this good late game transition? Hero obviously set up well for the late game because he's an established pro. But cool, he managed to get himself this nice late game composition. A ton of Void Rays, Motherships, and Templar against a Brood Lord Infestor force. Now, what I'm actually going to do is skip ahead a little bit. Let's see what happens at the 30-minute mark. The main's finally been cleared up. It's only been about a minute later. Let me move up from here. I'll actually ×8 it just so you can see this brief end. Where Hero's killing stuff off in the main, looking good, looking nice. An attempted bust. A nice little vortex there. The expansion gets taken out. I think we're going to stop at around the 33-minute mark now that you've seen that this expansion has fallen as well. Alright, and we're going to stop right at 33 minutes. Bang! Yeah, looking good. Looking good. Feeling good. So, what I am now going to ask is the same things I did before. What's the number one most important thing? Where are we worried about him expanding, and where should we expand to? Some of the answers are obvious, some are not so obvious. Where should we expand to next? If you said anywhere but here, then it's quite honestly wrong. This is a great place to expand because our whole frickin' army is here. Notice that from that 30-minute moment to the 33-minute moment, actually I think I can rewind in tens. Yeah, look at the mini-map with me. Look down at the mini-map where it can actually load properly. Look in the top right. You see all the units moving there as we rewind back. This is right now, this is the, let's see here, this is the 33-minute mark. Look in the top right as I rewind back. This is the 32-minute mark. You still see units there. Rewinding back to the 31-minute mark. They're still patrolling up there. Right now to the 30-minute mark. They're still patrolling. In fact, for the last quite a long time, Hero has been constantly checking up at this top right. Because where is our opponent most likely to expand? Here, here, and here. Which I believe he is expanding to. Where is our opponent not likely to expand? Here and here. Okay, where should we expand as our first attempt? Boom, there's number one. Where should we expand as our second attempt? Probably here, I'd imagine. This I might be a little leery of because it's kind of an extremely small area for us to defend. And we have air units. So honestly, the distance from here to here is shorter than from here to there. But I'm slightly indifferent. I personally would prefer this just because it creates a cup with this nice expansion up here. So I'm going to speed right through the end of this game, so that way we can go on to part number 3 and look at one of your submissions. Nice late game mix. What units are we going to use to bolster this? Well, probably some more Void Rays, but again, think about that ultra late game position. I probably might want something like more Templar, maybe some Colossus in there to deal with some of the ground threats like the Broodlings. But hey, look at our expansion go up. Look at our management of expansions up here. I might briefly check there every now and again, but that's just such an easy kill. Is he really making 3 layers? That's nuts. And as we see our lovely liquid hero move out, where would be a good place to expand? Boom! Right there is an excellent place to expand. This is an excellent place to expand. This is not actually a great place to expand at all, given this positioning. Because we're not in the way. We can't control an army that's trying to rush up to there. And as you'll note, max Void Rays are really good. I would be so surprised to see Hero expand here. But unfortunately, he will not give us that glory. He's instead going to send a probe down there and expand there. Wow! And look at his army moving up for the first time since he was sequestered to the bottom left. He's moving up this way to lock down this watchtower to take that expansion. Oh, yeah! Yes! That is the man. Hero's not obsessing about trying to kill off expansions. He's just limiting his opponent's expansions. It's fine if you have 4 bases, because I have 4 bases. 1 Archon there to sort of patrol and manage that top side. And then, of course, Void Rays are a direct counter to Overlords. Done and done and done. Beautiful game, right? Lovely, delightful game. Love watching Liquid Heroes positioning in relation to how he expands, especially against Zerg. When we hop into part number 3, what we're going to do is we're going to look at one of the replays that you submitted, one I tried to watch last week, but nosedived on. And we'll try to examine those same 3 questions. Do we start the mid game or start the mid and late game correctly? Are we doing the late game composition tech? Are we doing our unit movement and expanding? Because we always want to be progressing. So don't go anywhere. Part number 3 coming up in 2 minutes.